Hey, Thor, it's Paul Allen. How are you?
Hey, PA, how you doing?
Right on. Got your buddy Paul Charch in by my side. And are you still in Mobile or have you returned?
I am.
Okay, cool.
No, I'm here.
Now, Thor Nystrom, Fantasy Life, at what some would say is Thorku, Thorku. But 9 to noon is Thor Nystrom raised with his elite football mind. So we know it's Thor KU, which is perfect because this running back, Devin Neal, caught my eye last year from the Kansas Jayhawks. And, man, you just have to love him heading into the draft, right?
I sure do. A 220-pound back with the most incredible feet you'll see for a back that big. Yeah. For those big backs, the choppy footwork and the feet that follow the eyes, the violent cuts, you saw Devin Neal wiping defenders out and setting defenders up to wipe other defenders out of plays because of the violent cuts that he made in college. And we saw that footwork out there on the field. We also got to see him show a little bit more of the receiving side of his game. At Kansas, they used him as more of a dump-off guy, but that was just their scheme. We've had a supposition that Devin Neal will be a much better receiver in the pros than he was in college. And I got a chance to speak to Devin Neal after practice on Wednesday. That's what he told me his number one priority was here this week, was showing more of the receiving, and he certainly got to do that. He was shaking people in the open field, running really clean routes. I think that's a guy, if he fell to the Vikings pick, the third-round comp pick, that would be a bonanza. Will he get down there? I'm not sure after this week, but that's one of the guys I'm circling.
Thor's playing fast.
Yes, Devin Neal, somebody. There are a lot of people, myself included, Thor, that think the Vikings will not take a running back in the first round, and actually, I think they'll trade it down out of the first round. I'm already looking forward to the Vikings draft party on that, and then then with that third pick, I think running backs in play in round 3.
Devin Neal,
and because this is such a deep draft, right? You've told me this is shaping up as maybe the deepest class of running backs ever, right? So we could get we can get maybe a second round talent at the end of the third round with that comp pick, and maybe Devin Neal's the guy.
That's the thing with how stacked this running back class is. Yeah, you're going to get a round and a half discount on guys starting latter half of the second round, certainly in round 3, compared to where they would have been picked the year before. You guys remember the running back class we're coming off of from last spring was not good at all.
Right.
We get the market correction this year. Going back to 6-7 years ago, whenever that was, when the Packers, that one draft when they took Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams.
Oh yeah.
If the Vikings if they can trade down and flesh out your picks, you can't do this strategy if you only have 4. You can't use half of your picks on running backs.
Right.
But if they were able to trade down out of the first round, all of a sudden you get up to 6 or 7 picks. Certainly, if it got above that, I would strongly advocate that they take 2 running backs in this class. Right. And you can, your other spot in your running back room, you could bring, whether it's Jones, have a veteran there. That's your spot for the veteran. But you're going to get such huge discounts on running backs relative to recent years that, I think that's where the juice is worth the squeeze.
This is KU Jayhawks draft fan line with Paul Allen and Paul Charchian. Thor Nystrom's our guest. It is at Thor KU. And, I've just been really excited since I knew you were going to be on. Charch put it together to tell you just how enamored and or infatuated with cornerback Mello Dotson I am. 5-year contributor at Kansas. I think he's like 6'1", 190. Might have had 11 interceptions with 5 pick sixes. What a cornerback he might be in the NFL, Thor.
Yeah, that's right. Kansas had the 2 good boundary corners, and Dotson, he was a guy that looked really good at his All-Star event. Yeah, really active, gets his hands on the ball, and like you said, he's got ball skills as well, super feisty. That was a guy, he had talked to the NFL the year before, and they gave him the feedback of go back to school, get in the weight room, try to get your weight up, because he's a slight kind of a guy, and then improve your tackling as well. We saw that this year. So his game went up, and then, again, coming off a big all-star exhibition himself. So, a guy to monitor as well.
And Lord knows drafting players or taking rookies from KU, that Kansas juggernaut football program, not named Dana Stubblefield or Gale Sayers. I mean, that's what a perfect road to the Super Bowl, Charch.
I did not know Gale Sayers went to Kansas until now. All right.
I think he did.
Thor is at
he did.
For the Senior Bowl. Yeah, there you go. Thor's at the Senior Bowl. Talk to me about the Gophers who are in attendance, and did anybody improve or hurt their stock from the University of Minnesota?
This was a really good week for Gopher football down here. And then they became the coolest story yesterday, which I'll get to in 1 second. But Ursery was the headliner coming in. The offensive tackle had gotten some first-round hype. Was it a guy who was going to have a good pre-draft process and punch that ticket, or go the other way, and then he falls into day two? You're moving close to being able to say that kid has punched his round one ticket. I can't quite get there till we see the combine, but barring falling on his face at the combine, which I do not expect to happen, he is going to go in the first round. He had a really, really good week here. The one-on-ones in these postseason all-star exhibitions are not advantageous for the offensive lineman, of course. You're on an island. There is no help. And the defender, the defensive lineman, he has all this space. He can go, either way, whatever. Ursery acquitted himself extremely well in that. He was, on Tuesday, he was causing all kinds of problems for this undersized Boston College edge rusher who had 16.5 sacks last year. Just utterly shut off the lights on that guy. And then we saw the way that his power, Ursery's, was manifesting against some of the more war daddy type guys, or the power edge rushers that we had. So he had a really, really good week. Again, the power, the core strength, he doesn't get rocked back. And I like his feet as well. Certainly no bum athlete there. So I think he's likely to go in the first round. And then Cody Lindenberg, the linebacker, he had a really good week as well. You look up at the testing, the max speed, the deceleration, they have the tracking, they put the chips in the players.
Yeah.
Lindenberg was one of the most athletic linebackers that we had there, which on its own would be impressive. It's even more contextually impressive when you know that Cody Lindenberg was banged up at the end of the season, and that was a guy who was like, is he going to be able, how is he going to look at the Senior Bowl and moving around? And he looked tremendous, pushing himself to be able to participate. And then the way that he looked on the practice field as well, that's a guy, could he get up to the fourth round? I think he probably feels pretty good about round 5 right now. Could he make a push with a strong combine to get up closer to the early part of day 3? I can tell you guys, there was several teams that were interested in talking to Cody Lindenberg a second time this week. There's teams out there that need the linebacker, need linebacker depth. And there was several here that were very interested in Cody Lindenberg. The other guy that we saw earlier this week, Josh Joyner, the edge rusher from the Gophers, I believe he had the fastest max speed time of any edge rusher that was on the field at the Senior Bowl here this week. And then lastly, on Thursday, this was, sort of the enchanting side of this. The Danny Strigow, the edge rusher from the Gophers, gets a call on Wednesday night that they had guys pull out or whatever. Strigow had participated at the Hula Bowl, and he had looked pretty solid at the Hula Bowl. His agent asked him, I just got a call from Jim Nagy. They need a defender. Can you hop on a plane and get down there, by the morning? And he did. Mobile, you have to get on multiple different flights to get there, and he did it on no time whatsoever, but he wanted the opportunity. On Thursday to get out there, yesterday he was out there in front of evaluators on zero sleep, by the way. I think it was Quint Kesich, the ESPN, for the broadcast. They interviewed him on TV, and they were asking him how do you feel, getting here and going out on the field? And he's like, well, I got to warm up, and I don't know any of the plays, but I just want to show my stuff. So that was a really cool story, and he's going to get an opportunity to play on Saturday because we've had a bunch of opt-outs. He's probably going to get to play a bunch of snaps, so a great opportunity for Strigow.
Where, Thor, 2 days ago, it was a where were you moment. Did you happen to be close to that Marshall Edge guy, Mike Green, when he trucked that tackle and knocked him back 10 feet?
Yes, that was one of those in the stadium where you get the ooh, from everywhere. It's kind of haunting, but yes, that kid is ridiculous. The forward propulsion, he was knocking back some 320 pounders on their butt this week.
So he, I guess he was instructed to put on weight, and he did. He had 17 sacks last year for Marshall that led everybody in FBS. Are we talking top 15, top 20 for this guy?
If he tests like a freak, there's a shot. The other thing the NFL is going to be curious about is what are the circumstances surrounding him leaving Virginia?
Oh.
You know, because that's where he began his career. There's some questions about that. But as far as the on-field, you mentioned he answered the question of the size thing. And then this past season at Marshall was utterly unblockable. I mean, he was in the backfield every single time. He was the nightmares of the quarterbacks of the teams that Marshall was playing. And then you bounce up in competition here. How is he going to look in these one-on-ones against, first-round offensive linemen? The Oregon kid, Connerly Jr., is the one that you're talking about that he put back on his butt, where the whole stadium, everyone stopped what they were doing. It's like, oh, my God, you just see that. Connerly's is potentially a top 20 pick. This is not a bum. And so, Green was having his way with some of these top offensive tackles, and then he opted out after Wednesday. Assuming that he tests well a month from now and some of those other questions are addressed by NFL teams, yeah, I mean, the sky is the limit as far as where he could go because he generates instant heat on quarterbacks.
You can read Thor's latest mock draft for the first round at fantasylife.com, which I did. And you've got the Vikings. What are we picking, 25?
24.
24. You've got the Vikings picking 24. You've got Texas cornerback Jahdae Barron. You want to give people just a little intel on him? Because I honestly hadn't heard about him until today.
Yeah, utterly shut down for Texas this year as one of their boundary guys, but he was used in a very interesting way. The year before, he had been a nickel defender. This year, he functioned as Texas's CB1. Again, was one of the best, defensive backs in college football this year. But Texas would move him around. There was times they would put him back as a deep safety. There was times they would move him back as the nickel that he had been previously. There was times they would move him into the box. There was a few snaps where they would send him off the edge. It's a cornerback who is being used like a Josh Metellus, right? Like, that's traditionally more your chess piece type guy. But Texas ran a heavy zone coverage scheme, and they love to move him around. And he can do so many different things. You have the toughness, the ability to come downhill, run the alley against the run. He's a really good run defender. He also became a good blitzing defensive back, because of some of this different stuff. And earlier in his career, the way that he was used. And again, by the end, in this zone scheme, he's not running with people man on man, but man, is he good in zone. Because he's one of those guys who likes to see the quarterback's eyes, and super instinctual from there. He gets the quick first step, and he can anticipate where the quarterback is going to go and start jumping passing lanes as well. He's a guy I think that specifically Flores is going to be very attracted to.
Again, that's Texas cornerback Jahdae Barron. We'll watch him as a possible Viking at pick number 24 in the draft. I want to hit you with two more quick running back questions. But again, a guy that could be a potential third rounder in that compensatory spot for the Vikings. Ollie Gordon from Oklahoma State is fascinating. He's so tall. You rarely see running backs that look like the tallest guy on the field. And he's got he gallops with the long strides, and he's a good receiver. Ollie Gordon, I find really interesting. What are your thoughts on him?
I'm interested in him too, and that's a guy where if he got to that third comp pick, you would have to consider him. I think that he gave people got the wrong impression coming out of 2023 when Ollie Gordon, I think he won the Doak Walker that year. He's certainly an All-American. That's when he put up the ridiculous stats. This year, his counting stats got cut in half. And so people were down on Ollie Gordon coming into this event. But the reason that happened, it also speaks to the kind of player I think that the NFL would be getting in Ollie Gordon, in that the supporting cast around Ollie Gordon became much worse this year. The quarterback play was bad. The offensive line greatly regressed. And so defenses were ganging up on Ollie Gordon against the bad offensive line. What Ollie Gordon can do is create a bunch for himself behind the line. That long stride speed that you're talking about, Charch, he needs a runway to access that. It's not one of those guys where you get the instant to top end speed, in 2 steps or whatever. Right. But he has really good vision. He has all that body armor. You're mentioning he measured in over 6'1". 6'1" and change. 233 is what he came in here at. You could certainly 235 to 240. You could get Ollie Gordon too. And the thing that I like, you're talking about the big back who is good in the receiving game. the receiving element of his game has evoked Najee Harris. You'll hear him comp to that. I think his overall game, maybe goes a little bit far, but you can see a bit of Najee Harris the way that he was used at Alabama and Ollie Gordon as a receiver. I also love Ollie Gordon as a pass blocker. And people out there might roll their eyes. Who cares? It's blocking with the running back. If you go through the cut-ups like I do with these collegiate running backs, so often you see the matador blocker, or even worse, there's some guys that won't even step up. They don't want to take any contact on a passing concept because they don't get to touch the ball. Ollie Gordon is a guy who loves hitting people, and he really good at sensing where that danger is going to come. Who's the first guy through the line? And he steps up every time, squares himself up, and he has a really neat trick. He swipes the knees. He cup blocks, and he has really good timing for it. And the percentage of guys that he wipes out doing that very, very high. He's a between the tackles runner. I don't know how often in the NFL he will be able to access that high end speed, but you're going to get the between the tackles efficiency. And then a guy who is is going to be a value add for you in the pass game.
Thor, lastly, Thor Nystrom, fantasylife.com, and at Thor KU via the X machine. Minnesota Vikings quarterback J.J. McCarthy. I believe he's in town, which means there is a chance he's listening to this radio show right now. If he is, what message?
Oh, boy.
What message would you send the way of young J.J. McCarthy as he embarks on an offseason leading up to potentially a starting role in the National Football League?
High QB1 would be my first message, and my second one is help is coming. Help is coming. The fifth most projected cap space in the NFL. You have the first round pick. Now Kwesi's starting to play the comp game, so you're going to have your draft equity going forward. The Vikings roster now 14-3 roster with so few holes. You have all the resources you need to fire away to plug all those holes. J.J. McCarthy, you are going to be inheriting a really good roster here, and the Vikings, the future is super duper bright.
He's J.J. I'm never going to forget the high-end QB1, J.J. Help is on the way. You're fantastic. Thank you for the in-depth knowledge, and bless you and have a wonderful weekend, okay?
PA, I can't wait to hear you call it the J.J. McCarthy experience once that starts. Thanks so much for having me, boys.
Yeah, I'll look for it, but I'm getting ready for the Daniel Jones experience, so I'm just kidding.
Oh, yeah, don't say that to Thor.
JJ, DJ, we'll see which way it goes. Into the penultimate, then into the weekend. It's 11:20. This is 9 to noon, and the vast and ever-expanding Love Covenant Audio Network at KFAN, and here's the con.
The Fan wants to give you a chance to put $1,000 in your hand with the National Cash Contest. So go to KFAN.com and use the keyword check. You might win $1,000. It could come in the form of a check, to be honest with you, if you use the keyword check at KFAN.com.
It's the Ashley President's Day sale going on now. Right now, you can feel the freedom to save up to $1,000 on select mattresses. Plus, you can snooze now, pay later with up to 60 months special financing. And for a limited time, receive a $300 coupon with the purchase of a premium mattress. Customizing your sleep has never been easier. Hurry in and start saving today. Only at Ashley in North Charleston and Mount Pleasant. Subject to credit approval. Minimum monthly payments required. Minimum purchase required. See store for details.
All right. Super Bowl 59. A week from Sunday, we will be in tandem for the Friday football feast next week, and that's where we will try to button down some of the particulars and nuance with the Super Bowl 59, Philadelphia and Kansas City. But
you got to lean right now. You don't have to commit now because we're 8 days out, 9 days out. So do you got to lean right now?
Yeah, I like Philadelphia on the money line. I like Philadelphia minus 3.5, and I like Philadelphia minus 7.5.
Oh.
The 7.5 was plus 360 at Scores and Odds when I looked earlier in the week. Mm-hmm. The 3.5, a little light. Like I think people are tagging that minus 3.5 for the underdog.
Okay,
because it was like a plus 240. I'm like, damn. So let me get this straight. I'm a 1.5 dog. I'm going to go ahead and flip that thing 5 points. And it just goes up to that 2.5. I thought it'd be a little higher. What about you?
I think it could be a one-sided win for the Eagles.
Yeah, I think it crashes. I think Kansas City's going to crash here a bit.
I think so too. And it's we've been waiting for the crash all season, so it hasn't come yet. So maybe there's no basis for this. And the Chiefs I'll take the Chiefs coaching staff over the Eagles coaching staff, but keep in mind
that's a fair point.
Keep in mind that like Vic Fangio has been around. He knows what he's doing. This moment is not too big for Vic Fangio, Kellen Moore. These are people that have got long resumes. But I think the Chiefs get the advantage there. But when the roster differential is just so high for the Eagles,
right?
Their pass defense way better for the Eagles with Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell, and that was probably the best overall pass defense in the NFL. Chiefs aren't bad. Trent McDuffie is a scrappy, good cornerback, but it is not as good as the Eagles that can just go shut down on the passing game.
See, not to clip on you.
That's fine.
You're right, and we can be like, when Philadelphia lost 38-35 a couple of years ago. If you are of the belief, and I am, the Eagles are better now than they were then, and KC's not as good as it was then. It's close, and you still got the 15, but, Jones, it's after they won that Super Bowl. It's looking back at the work their GM Brett Veach did with Creed Humphrey and Chenal and Karlaftis and McDuffie in the right spot. And then he really was the one before John Dorsey, their GM. John Dorsey was on his way out. Veach was his assistant. So think Spielman and Peyton, Kwesi, Grigson, think like one of those.
Yeah.
He was the 1A. Well, it was his job. And he didn't really usurp the outgoing GM, John Dorsey, with what he did. But, he slid a note and then something else, pictures or a bio of Patrick Mahomes or something under Andy Reid's door. And the note said, this is football lore, it's not fable. This is the greatest college player I've ever studied in my life. And whatever it takes to get Patrick Mahomes,
you
we
need
should
to do
it.
it.
Well, Andy, because Veach was younger then, and a little wet behind the ears, or so to speak, a little green, let's say. And Andy's like, yeah, that's great and everything.
Pat him on the head, send him on his way.
John, come over here and tell me about this guy from Texas Tech. And then Andy started looking at it like, I see what you're saying here. Like everybody sees this, I see it too, but I can also see this, and I'm not sure everybody else sees this. So then they move up to 10 to get him. Veach triggered that, okay, as the season before he took the job.
Yeah.
So they're playing with all of that, and they have so many players on their team, the Chiefs, that when you go like, okay, well, Cooper DeJean, now this guy in the slot matchups, you got to do that, no doubt about it. Kansas City has players that are unquantifiable in moments like this.
Yeah.
It's let's say Chris Jones, okay, he's been in the league nearly a decade and battling injuries, and big people get tired in the third quarter and they got to rest and they come back in the fourth. Well, it's their immortality pieces, Mahomes, Jones, and Kelsey. They are otherworldly in games like this, generally speaking, right?
Yeah.
Now Saquon's otherworldly. Is he going to be otherworldly in a game like this? Well, we'll see. I mean, I think he will.
I do too.
I think the whole situation's impenetrable. I believe you can stop it once or twice, but then number 3 is going to go for 55. 4 and 5, you stop him. Number 6 goes for 62 plays. So all, it's Philly. I'm the one like you that said, yeah, I think Philly wins, and I think it might be a blowout. So I'm on that side, but I just don't want the immortality and experience and handling school aspect of how to deal with situations like this game. I wouldn't shortchange that. But like Philly, Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham, when they played inside in nickel or dime, Graham's a defensive end, but they would go inside, and Brandon Graham would play the majority of the game inside, wreaking havoc, between in the A-gap, between the guard and the center. Well, Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, I'm not going to say they're better than these guys because those guys did it, and Brandon Graham might play, by the way. They did it a long time. The way, and you were on this with Davis too early, it's here now. His run-stopping ability.
Unreal.
You can't move him. I mean, he had his problems his rookie year because he was in the wrong spot, might have been a little out of shape, getting out of breath and stuff like that. Carter's been the bomb since the minute he stepped on the field. Those two together, it's unbelievable how good those guys are together. Now, you got DeJean, and you got Mitchell, and you got Slay, and you have the former Saint Eagle, went to the Lions, safety, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Super underrated safety. They got this linebacker, Nolan Smith. Nobody ever talks about him. He's fantastic.
Another one of those first-round picks
Was he a first-round pick?
Howie Roseman, who fell in the draft. People thought he was going to go at pick 8, pick 9, pick 10.
Yep.
And he dropped down to 20.
Yep.
And Roseman went up and got him. He's been a big contributor.
Yep.
They're getting a ton of run from Zach Bond, their linebacker.
He's good.
He's blue-collar story of the NFL.
Yeah.
Because he was lost with New Orleans something.
Yes. And now he shows up here making just big impact plays after big impact plays.
Yep.
People wondered if the Philly offensive line was going to be able to survive the loss of Jason Kelce.
Mm-hmm.
They've been mostly fine there. They had to do some work early in the season to get Landon Dickerson and Cam Jurgens going.
Yep.
That line has come together brilliantly.
Yep.
And if Karlaftis and Jones can't disrupt against this great offensive line the way they normally do, that's part of how this thing turns into a one-sided game.
Yeah.
Yep. If it goes down that way, and it might.
Right, but I mean, it's Saquon. There are two factors in here. That one is tried and true, the other is new. Andy Reid and his staff will make fewer in-game mistakes than Nick Sirianni and his staff.
Probably true.
Okay, it's why didn't you go nickel there? Yep, should have. Why didn't you go dime there? Yep, should have. Why'd you go unbalanced there? Yep, should have. Okay, there would be fewer of those for the immortality staff. But Barkley is
the equalizer?
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's the equalizer. I don't know how to describe it because when they lost 38-35, now Jalen, I got to take the quarterback out of the equation because he ain't running as much as he used to.
No, he's not right physically.
In that Super Bowl, Gainwell, Scott, and the other running back.
Miles Sanders.
Thank you.
Back then.
They might have combined for 46 yards. Combined, okay?
And they won.
Well, no, they lost.
I thought you were talking about the Super
Eagles.
Bowl. You're talking about the one from 2 years ago.
I mean, Saquon gets that on one run.
Yeah.
And what Spags is great, but you can't stop this the whole game because there's a guessing element to it. Well, of course there is. I mean, all of it is we know that you know that we know that you know that we know that you know. So he can slow it for a little bit, but Jalen Hurts is smart. He's a very, very smart quarterback. He's not a selfish guy who has to be the show. He has to be the star. He can acquiesce. So over the totality of the game, I just don't see the Chiefs defense stopping this whole thing from explosive plays. You might hold Barkley to 4.2 per carry and a long of 31. Well, that means AJ or Devontae are going to have 190. Okay, so now you slow one of them, and Goddard's going to go 570 and 2. See, it just comes at you. Well, see, now, if they jump them, if they get one of these Barkley long runs, stop, field goal, stop, field goal, and it's 13-0, well, now Patty can't play the way he wants because he has to get down the field fast. And Xavier Worthy's fast, but he'll be doubled and tripled in this situation every single time. Juju Smith-Schuster, Mecole Hardman, those guys ain't beating you fast down the field if you know it's coming because they got to throw because they're down. So just, those factors right there just really lead me to the Eagles.
I think the talking about Saquon, the differential in running game here is night and day from basically the best running game in the NFL to arguably the worst.
I'm why don't they use him?
It's got to be the injury, Paul.
Wow, man.
He is not the same guy, and they phased him
2
out.
months.
They phased him out. Maybe they brought him back too soon. I don't know, or maybe it's just one of those injuries where you're not right until the
His
next
first
year.
carry last game, he wrapped the ball up super hard because they were strafing and stripping and trying to get him to fumble. he took off. I mean, and he was hard to bring down. Now, second and third carries were a little different. He looked a little slower. But his first carry, man, he looked like a cheetah.
Largely phased out of the offense almost entirely, but also for Kareem Hunt. And Kareem Hunt hasn't been good. He's just been better than Pacheco. Yeah. They might run those two running backs combined in this game against a good, not great Eagles run defense. They may combine for like 40 yards on the game.
Did you hit that P. Ryan prop?
I did.
You did?
So you had yardage, not receptions.
I had yardage.
Oh,
nice.
Oh,
yep. And it was only it went down to like over 6.5 yards.
Well, which means it's 9.5. So he caught it one time. It was one time he caught it near the end of the game by the sideline.
Yep.
How long was that play?
17 yards.
Yeah. The dagger.
Boom.
Yeah, I think you're lying, but that's okay. Yeah, I'm with Nordo.
Box score does not lie.
No, we think you had receptions.
Yeah, I think you had over 1.5.
Yeah, the week before you went over 11.5 yards and you took a fat L and didn't catch one pass and everybody languished.
Correct. Yep.
So now the 6.5 was really 9.5. The receiving yards was really receptions, but that's Okay, we were just wondering earlier in the week, but anyway.
Do you think Saquon can catch on these guys a little bit? I mean, James Cook went for nearly 120 on just 15 touches in that game against the Bills. Like, I just think Saquon feels inevitable in this one.
So here's the funny thing. And we talked about this last week because one of our props was the Barkley under 2.5 receptions, which also hit. And they haven't used Barkley in the passing game hardly at all
year.
Haven't.
Yeah,
and
which didn't hit.
Which almost.
That's why you told me that my over 24.5 was ridiculous.
Which hit.
And you were correct.
Yeah, which is
Xavier
great.
Worthy had his yards in the first quarter.
He did. It did. Yeah, that was my loss for last week. The thing on Barkley, you almost feel like, because we know he can catch. In fact, he is a good. It's not LaDainian Tomlinson, but he's a good pass catcher.
Yeah,
but. You almost feel like they're waiting until now to hit him with like 6 passes in a game. Like they've been just holding him back, waiting to pick their moment because we know we can do it. And we know the Chiefs have been susceptible to pass catching running backs. We'll probably have some prop action on this.
Is there an aspect of it where with the season and the way that Saquon, his success, the way that it's gone, you know what? I'd rather just eliminate any of the weird 1 in a million mistakes that could potentially happen in setting up a screen, and I'm just going to hand it off. I know Saquon, if I need to throw the ball to him, he's going to be there, he's going to catch it. But when I can just run like outside zone or I can just push him to the boundary and he's just going to win every time, why don't I just skip the pass attempt and just hand it to him and let him do it?
Yeah, you might be right. I just looked up Chiefs against running backs and through the air. They're actually elite.
Really?
They give up the second fewest receptions and the third fewest yards to running backs through the air, and no touchdowns to running backs through the air.
No passing TDs.
No passing touchdowns.
Yeah, the
whole year?
The whole year.
What if Pacheco's just coming a little bit back to earth? I mean, he runs. I mean, he looks like a less physically talented Adrian Peterson with the violent mannerisms and the motions,
the like cartoon character arms and everything.
Yeah, but even Mahomes threw him a ball early in that game against the Bills, and there's just no juke. There's no additional move once he gets control of the ball. It's either straightforward or it's nothing.
Yeah. And that's kind of who he's been. You know, he was a 7th-round pedigree, and he outperformed it by a lot. And at times, Pacheco, over his career, has looked really, really good. It's just, this is a different version, and it's got to be that lingering leg injury.
Yeah.
I don't think at his age he's just like fallen off a talent cliff. I just think he's laboring with that thing.
If you think the game's going to be close, well, one thing I brought up last week is still very much in play this week. It was Eagles and Washington last week. Is Butker's lights out? Okay, Harrison Butker, he's as reliable as the sun.
Yeah.
Now the other guy, Jake Elliott's 1 of 8 now. He missed from 50 something.
That could be a factor.
How about your longest field goal bid, Zane Gonzalez?
For Elliott, he's 1 of 8 this year from 50 plus.
That's not great.
But
at least they know that.
Right, but they still tried it.
Yeah, he wasn't particularly close on that. Close. It was like 52, 54.
Wasn't close.
It was ugly,
So
man.
if you think it's going to be close and you want to walk off with your field goal kicker, I think you need to be 45, 43 in. So that's, a little bit of a hardcore handicapping angle that probably should be saved for next Friday. But it's, when it's like the difference between for whom are you going to root, you can vote on that at Paul Charchian via the X machine. Or, why are you going to watch, or what intrigues you with the watching element? It's the laundry list of exciting reasons to watch for me, and I think for you guys too, is voluminous. When you put prop bets in there, what are they going to do with Saquon? And this kicker for Philadelphia sucks all of a sudden from 50 and beyond. It used to be football immortality. But it's, I never find myself, unless I got a bet on it or it involves fantasy football or something, I don't find myself rooting for non-Vikings related Super Bowl teams anyway.
I root for myself to be right.
Yeah.
We come on the air, and if I go on a big take that I think the Eagles could win 100%. By, 2 scores,
100%.
Then that ends up being my rooting interest, and that's where it's leaning right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's just, again, it's seeing the greatness. Like, I hit you with this on Monday. Like, I think Saquon can run for a mile in this game. And so that's what I'm rooting for.
Yep.
I'm not, the fan base this and F. Millie that. I don't care about those things. I care about Saquon Barkley and being right in that regard. But then even if the Chiefs roll down and they win this thing next Sunday, it's like, hold out. So, Travis Kelce in the biggest game and in the biggest spots, he has like 2 catches and 25 yards.
Yep.
And Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are winning Super Bowls with Noah Gray. Like, what?
Yep.
Like, that's amazing.
Yep.
Like, that's super cool. If Xavier Worthy, even forget about him. What about Juju?
Yep.
In that complete lack of speed, finding his way, in an open field to turn 15 into 35.
Yep.
Those bits are unbelievable.
Yeah, see, that's football snobbery. And I love that too. Like the Super Bowl they beat the Eagles in. We have Sky Moore. Who knew?
Yeah, that's
Rookie
right.
from Purdue. It's touchdown left.
Yeah.
Okay. Next drive. Kadarius Toney, I think is who it was. Same play. They flipped it.
Yeah.
It's Kadarius, you run to the right.
Or like Mecole Hardman in clutch spots.
So like with Moore and Toney, it's like, here's how much faster we are playing than you.
Yeah.
We're going to run the same play and flip it, and you still can't stop it.
It's like playing Madden.
Just love things like that,
Just flip it over to the strong side and hit it again.
We've all done it. If you played Madden, like twice.
Yeah, let's pause.
We've all done it.
Let's pause and put a wrap on the show around the corner. You are listening to 9 to Noon on your home for Super Bowl 59. This is the vast and ever-expanding KFAN Audio Radio Network.
I can't wait until tomorrow, 'cause tomorrow might very well be too late. I can't wait until tomorrow, 'cause tomorrow could never come. I know it could end any
What are you going to do here? Will a coach or player be shown crying during the Star-Spangled Banner? Yes, minus 430. No, plus 285.
Do people blubber during the national anthem? Do we normally get a player coach breakdown?
I remember this like it was yesterday, as a matter of fact. All jokes aside, Sirianni teared up during the national anthem 2 years ago.
Hard, right?
Yes.
No, that was him.
Like he was overcome with the moment.
Wow.
Which again, out of respect, like totally get
Right.
it. That's cool. Personality and such in recent years aside, but he 100% was tearing up during the anthem. I try and take a little sniff of the plus money on that. It's a plus what?
Well, so would I. After I get with the director and the camera person in front of both teams.
Yeah, right.
And I recognize there's a maximum to prop bets, 250 or 500. Now, you can go to a bunch of different places and smash it if you want to get that plus 285. But this whole thing is incumbent upon the camera person and the director or whomever switches at the board between camera shots.
Yeah,
But they will.
love that.
But
though.
here's the
they
thing.
love that because
That's
they're
the problem.
obsessed
Yes.
with the emotion. They need you to feel
Right.
something, and they'll
Right.
try and get it
And
out of you any way
When
they
you see
can.
this, grown man,
Yes.
football player,
Well,
linebacker,
crying
and he's
can be
blubbering
subjective.
over the anthem.
I might be crying inside right now for my own reasons.
Listeners are for
then,
their own
then
reasons.
that means the minus 430 should be paid
Well,
because
what
I
about
was on camera.
What about the subjectivity? Like, what if your eyes are watering, but there's no physical tear? I
Fair
feel like
point.
that there needs to be something laid out clearly at these books before I put 500 on it.
Will Travis Kelce propose to Taylor Swift? The yes is plus 500. The no is minus 950.
Well, now I want to eat glass.
That's the glass moment right
Really?
there.
I don't mind that bit. I think it's cool.
It would be, but do you want it to? So the theory
I like when they put Taylor Swift on camera, jumping up and down after a touch. I just think it's fine.
Yeah, I'm not offended.
Oh yeah, it's super unique.
But proposing on the field.
Screw you, man. I'm sorry to say that. I'll repent later if needed, but. It's yeah, there have been pop stars like that dating players in the Super Bowl just through the annals of time. Gee, this happens a lot. It's unique.
It is unique.
Do you believe Travis Kelce is going to win the Super Bowl and then have an on-field proposal with Taylor Swift?
What's the plus money?
The plus money is the yes is plus 500.
That's it.
The no is minus 950.
Why'd you have the win the game? Because here in the Tolstoy, will Travis Kelce propose to Taylor Swift?
Well, it's got to be it's a Super Bowl bet.
Oh yeah,
these are Super Bowl bets, so it has to be during the event and presumably right after
plus
the event.
500.
Now it feels like
I'm going to think that out, Travis.
It feels like
but that's reality show from there on out. Yeah. Now they're on Bravo getting that TV cash.
Oh, they are?
Well, I'm saying that would be the springboard. I wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibility.
Guest appearances with Mahomes' wife, Brittany or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Caitlin Clark rolls into episode 4. Now we're popping tags.
So it's probably he doesn't, right? But the no, you can make 1 to 10 on your money. Mm-hmm. In the stock market, you're trying to make 10% a year. Mm-hmm. I can get that 10% right now, just betting Travis Kelce will not propose to Taylor Swift during the Super Bowl, which seems unlikely, but not impossible.
Will a non-quarterback throw a touchdown? Yes, plus 14 to 1. No is minus 4,000, meaning you got to put up your $4,000 to win $100. It's minus 4,000.
Minus 4,000.
And the yes comes back plus 1,400. Man, somebody's getting ripped off on that split. I got to take the yes plus 1,400.
You think there's a 14 to 1 money on a non?
No, but I'm not laying 40 to 1.
Well, no, there's no point in going 1 to 40. No thanks.
Who's the guy on either team that immediately jumps out to you that says that's a guy that could throw a pass?
Saquon.
Well, that's what
I think that's the only answer, right?
Because 9 people are going to be running to him.
Yeah, and I tried to find. I flipped through the rosters of both teams trying to find non-quarterbacks who have a history of throwing, and there's almost none. DeAndre Hopkins threw a touchdown in 2019, and he had 1 pass attempt last year.
Yep.
And then Travis Kelce in 2020 threw two passes, completed 1. But I really couldn't find anybody else on any roster that's got some pedigree as a passer.
I must have missed this. Lastly, going back to the crying bit, 3 different people all texted in, Chris Jones will cry, free money. Chris Jones,
really?
100% is going to cry.
Chris Jones was the hard cry guy at that Super Bowl. It was last year, Sirianni the year before.
Plus 285?
No, minus.
Oh.
Yeah, the will cry is a heavy minus, like 5 to 1.
Yeah, everybody thinks there's going to be tears.
Yeah. Great job, guys. Appreciate you guys stopping by. And Nordo and I will be with you on Monday, then the Friday football feast in front of the Super Bowl next week. Thank you very much for listening. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a very big show at Target Center this evening.
Yes, indeed.
Features the likes of Wiz Khalifa. We also have Cool Mo D. We're dusting off Dougie Fresh and Melly Mel. But the opening act is with us now. Ladies and gentlemen, can I get a witness and a raucous round of applause for Big Daddy Khan?
What an intro.
Big boy's back.
The game is over.
It's a good thing I spent like 2 minutes on this. We'll see how it rolls here. It's a feast, always an eclectic meal. Talking about the draft, can Kwesi uncover a steal? It's a yearly tradition, excitement and zeal with which PA and Charch pretend they've ever heard of Devin Neal. But that's why we're here talking to Thor. It's kind of like shopping at the Senior Bowl Steam store. He hits us with players that we haven't seen before, and by mid-April, we're yelling more, more, more. But with these picks, man, we're balling on a budget. If we miss too many more, we're all like fudge it. We have plenty cash to play with. Charch doing a topless car wash to raise money for Trey Smith. And a big thanks to the Athletics Pompeii. Oh, the weekly energy boost from Chad Greenway. Got the Pro Bowl this weekend. Ooh, hot damn. Might be the last time as a Viking that you'll see Sam.
If you're leaving the show, please drive safely. Big Daddy Con, ladies and gentlemen.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.